I don't think I'm going to be vaping on this one because I got Lucy.
Lucy. Promo code Icono.
Promo code Icono, ICONO, Lucy.com.
Yep.
So when you start a new job, have you ever heard, I'm sure you've heard the term, fake it till you make it?
Oh yeah, I've done it before.
Or you dress for the job that you want, not the job that you have.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I dress like a drug addict, because I want to get paid for it.
You want to get paid to do drugs?
Ideally. I mean, not like a guinea pig. I don't want to have drugs tested on me. I would prefer to just be paid for doing what I love. Do what you love and the money will follow.
Iconoblast. We put the past on blast. Hit them with the truth, with things you never knew. Nobody is safe, no thing to place. Got Joel and Coop with history in your face. Iconoblast.
So the reason I'm asking about dressing for the job that you want, not the job that you have, is because that plays into the topic of the show today, which is someone that I dare say nobody listening to this podcast has ever heard of, because I had never heard of him before until very, very recently. And then once I heard about his story, I was absolutely blown away. I kind of see this guy as a combination of an idol and a bit of a cautionary tale.
Okay.
Because sometimes you can lie your way into situations that are a little over your head.
Oh shit. I like the sound of this.
This is another one of those stories like Thomas Midgley Jr., where it's someone that most people don't know about that is just an extremely interesting story. And
Except Thomas was the most deadliest living organism on the planet.
Thomas Midgley Jr. had a much wider reaching influence because of the things that he did. This guy, I mean, it didn't really go anywhere. I think that this guy's story is honestly a little bit more interesting.
Really?
I didn't think that I was going to get this into this guy's story when I first started working on this episode. But I even told you when I was working on it, like I got super excited about it, and I was texting you and telling you what the overall premise was.
Yeah, you told me a bit about it, but I don't know shit.
Once I started digging more into it, it was even more insane than I expected it to be.
That's fucking awesome.
So without further ado, this is the Iconoblast podcast. My name is Matt Cooper. That's Joel Benner. And this is going to be a long episode. It's probably about, in terms of information, it's about twice as long
information heavy episode.
Is the average episodes that we do. So I kind of just want to jump into the info because I absolutely fucking love this story. Like, this is Hollywood level storytelling. And it did eventually turn into an actual Hollywood film.
No shit.
Way back in the day, like back when they didn't know how to make movies, so it's not the best movie. So I told it in my own voice, which is much better.
You have a beautiful voice, Coop.
I know.
If your voice was a hot chick, it'd be pretty hot.
If I could fuck my own voice, I'd fuck it. I would. So fake it till you make it. This is the advice that is often given to people who are entering a new job they may not be completely qualified for. It also perfectly sums up the life of the subject of today's episode, Fred Demara Jr. Over the course of his 60 years of life, Demara lied his way to success more times than even the most successful of politicians. But unlike politicians, Demara's lies eventually caught up with him.
Uh-oh.
Born in 1921 in Lawrence, Massachusetts, Ferdinand, or Fred, as he preferred to be called, began his career as a swindler at a very young age. His favorite hobby as a child was playing tricks on people, which he excelled at. He soon learned that not only did he enjoy manipulating people, he was damn good at it. He was very, very good at it.
Oh, shit. Natural talent.
It was a natural talent. Some people have a gift for playing music. Some people have a gift for painting. This guy had a gift for bullshitting.
Some people have a gift for booty clapping. Some people are great at sucking D's.
Everybody is born with some talent. You just need to spend some time figuring out what that talent is and then find a way to capitalize on it.
Yeah.
And good old Fred Demara definitely capitalized on this talent.
Fred Demara, what ethnicity is he? I'm trying to paint a picture of what he looks like.
He's tall and fat.
He's a tall and fat guy? White dude?
Yeah, white guy, tall, fat. You can find pictures of him online.
Jolly? Would you say he's jolly? He must be like.
Yeah, he would be fairly jolly. Like he was
not intimidating.
Definitely. So one of the things that he lived his life by is, it's actually something that was in his biography, is his, I guess his motto would be expand into the power vacuum. In any given structure.
They're going to say eat a cake, gain weight, and be funny.
Eat cake, fuck bitches. The Fred Demara story. His motto was pretty much expand into a power vacuum. In any given organization, there's going to be some space that you can fit into. That there's going to be unclaimed power.
A space between a blink and a tear.
That's where death blooms, as the philosopher Mudvayne said.
Mm-hmm.
So his whole thing was finding a space within a pre-existing organization where he could obtain power that was unclaimed without stepping on anybody's toes. Because if you start stepping on toes, that's when you're going to get in trouble.
Oh.
So he had a penchant for finding these areas where he could create his own power. And then once people started catching on to him, he would kind of move on to the next thing.
Crazy.
As a child, he was so good at swindling people that he was able to trick a local candy store into giving him copious amounts of free chocolate. As a child.
Shit. I like this guy already.
I do too. I love this guy. Fred's father, Ferdinand Demara Sr., owned a few local movie theaters, earning a comfortable income for him and his family. When the Great Depression kicked off in 1929, people quickly lost interest in watching movies and became much more interested in not starving to death, forcing good old Papa Demara to close down his theaters. The loss of income forced the Demara family to move to the poor part of town, which Fred was not very happy about. So when Fred was 16 years old, he packed up some belongings and he fucked off out of home.
Damn.
Ran away from home at 16 years old.
That's pretty baller. That's better than me. I moved out when I was 17.
Oh yeah, I'm hoping someday I can move out of my parents' place.
I moved back in when I was 20.
I'm going to build up to 21. That point. It's just I can't figure out how laundry works. Like I know it has something to do with the laundry basket. Once it goes into the laundry basket, I don't know how it ends up in my dresser clean. Yeah, so at some point,
tough step.
Once I have some time, like I'm a busy career guy, so once I have enough time, I'll start putting some research into figuring out what the intermittent step between the laundry basket and my dresser is.
Yeah.
In the late 1930s, most children would run away with dreams. Sorry, I'm proud of some of the really stupid fucking jokes I put in this episode. In the late 1930s, most children would run away with dreams of joining the circus or having some other sort of adventure. Realistically, that adventure would often end up being a brutal death at the hands of a drunken hobo down by the train tracks. Mm-hmm. But not Fred. He didn't want to be a carny or a murder victim. He had more pure goals in mind.
He probably tricked the hobos into killing people for him.
No, he wanted to be a Trappist monk.
What?
For those unfamiliar with what a Trappist monk is, congratulations, you probably know what boobs feel like. Lucky for you, I'm depressingly single and desperate for anything to keep my mind busy and distract me from crushing loneliness, so I took the time to look it up for you. And it is exactly as boring as it sounds. Officially known as the Order of Cistercians of the Strict Observance, Trappists are a Catholic religious order of a cloistered monastic. This is such a confusing term. Oh, hey, Adam Hester from Skeleton Factory's here. You want to unlock the door for him real quick?
Oh, is he locked out? I think the front door's open, but I'll get it.
It wasn't when I walked in. I'll keep the story going while you're doing that. So officially known as the Order of Cistercians of the Strict Observance, Trappists are a Catholic religious order of cloistered monastics that branched off from the Cistercians. I have no clue what the fuck any of that means. To be perfectly honest, the Wikipedia page was so fucking boring I almost fell asleep. So, whatever. You can pretty much sum it up as a bunch of guys that dress like Obi-Wan Kenobi and make really good beer. So with dreams of dressing like a Jedi and getting hammered all day, Fred traveled to Rhode Island and joined the local chapter of booze-swilling monks. After 2 years, his fellow monks began to feel like he didn't quite fit in at the Rhode Island branch, so they did what any reasonable Americans do when they want to get rid of undesirables. They tell him to fuck off to Canada. But it turns out even Canadians didn't want to have anything to do with Fred. So they did what any reasonable Canadian does when they want to get rid of undesirables. They tell him to fuck off back to Massachusetts.
Why did they tell him to fuck off?
So he went and joined the Trappist monks in Rhode Island, and he didn't quite fit in with the group. So they sent him to a different monastery up in Canada.
To see if he'd do better there?
And then the monastery up in Canada was like, he kind of had a bad habit of starting fights with his superiors at any of the monasteries that he went to. So they would eventually get sick of his shit, and they would just kick him out. They'd be like, why don't you go try fucking with the Canadians? They apologize to everybody, so you'll probably be fine there. But no, even the Canadians got sick of him.
They were like, we don't like Canadians, so send this asshole there. He's like Ace Ventura from Ace Ventura 2 when he's with the monks.
Actually, yeah. Like, oh, him.
What about my spiritual oneness? Oh, it happened right now.
There it is.
There it is, yeah.
So Fred spent a couple of years teaching 4th grade and arguing with other monks at the Brothers of Charity Boys' Home in West Newbury, eventually getting on the bad side of the other monks. Once again, this is a running theme throughout his entire life.
Is he just pissing people off?
He cannot get along with monks. He wants to be a monk so bad, cannot get along with monks.
Why the fuck does he want to be a monk?
I don't know.
He's like a born thief.
I was confused about that through the entire process of researching this episode.
He was trying to save himself from being a criminal. The last of his goodness.
I mean, it might be. Well, towards the end of the episode, I think that was actually a passion of his. He actually was passionate for becoming a monk.
Does he commit crimes later? Because these monks turned him away?
No, he was born with that.
I blame the monks.
So he went back to West Newbury and eventually got on the bad side of those guys there. He got sent back to Massachusetts. And after a particularly heated argument with his superior, Fred told the Trappists to go fuck themselves and ran away.
Yeah.
Much like a scorned lover, Fred rebounded from his breakup with the monks by finding a new job as far removed from monastic life as he could. He became a soldier.
Oh, shit.
So he joined the army in the late 1930s, early 1940s. But playing soldier turned out to be more of a fling for Fred than a career, and after less than a year, Fred realized that being a monk wasn't that bad compared to all the marching and training and getting yelled at by alcoholics in the midst of ruining their 4th marriage. But Fred Demara wasn't the type of guy to go AWOL, and he solved this in a very interesting way.
How old was he when he joined the military?
At this point, he's in his late teens, early 20s, roughly.
Okay.
So since Fred Demara wasn't the type of guy to go AWOL, he solved this conundrum by borrowing the identity of a fellow soldier named Anthony Ignolia. And Tony Ignolia was absolutely the type of dirtbag that was going to go AWOL. And by that, I mean Fred just took his identity and fucked off out of the army. After his previous falling out with the Trappist monks in Rhode Island, Canada, after his falling out with the Trappist monks in Rhode Island, Canada, and Massachusetts,
holy shit,
Fred wouldn't be able to just waltz back into their lives like nothing happened. Yeah. So instead, he used his new identity to join a monastery in Kentucky.
He tried again?
Dude, this guy is the most tenacious motherfucker I have ever heard of in my entire life. He never gives up. Surely none of his former colleagues would be crazy enough to willingly go to Kentucky, but in an insane coincidence, he ran into one of the monks from Rhode Island.
Oh, no.
Went all the way to Kentucky trying to get away from the people who knew who he actually was. Ended up running into one of the guys that he used to be in the monastery with in Rhode Island, the first monastery that he went to.
And they kick him out again?
Well, you got to wait and find out. Wanting to avoid having his true identity revealed, Fred left before he could be recognized. And although I have no proof for this, I like to think the situation played out a little something like this. Hey, aren't you the guy that got kicked out a couple of years ago? No, I'm not Fred. My name's Anthony now. I mean, I've always been Anthony. Are you sure? You look just like Fred Demara. Holy shit, look over there. It's Jesus.
Where?
And then he runs away. With his secret identity still intact.
Callers are still trying to call in for the Jack
They're still trying to call in for Jack Sesh. Yeah. Well, they're going to have to wait for another week. With his secret identity still intact, Fred beat feet to New Melleray Abbey in Iowa. New Melleray Abbey in Iowa.
New Melleray, yeah.
Anyway, under the assumption that if someone recognized him there, he could just impersonate a pile of corn. While Iowa may seem good on paper, anyone who has actually been there can attest that the best thing to do in Iowa...
Great album.
...is to figure out how to get the fuck out of Iowa.
It's a great Slipknot album.
It is a great Slipknot album. Once again, Fred ran away from the Trappists, this time returning to his home in Massachusetts. Upon his arrival... Papa Demara was not very happy with his deserter son. His father scolded him for going AWOL, despite Fred's attempts to explain that it wasn't him that went AWOL. It was that fucking dirtbag Anthony Ignolia.
How did he join up with that name, or did he? Because wouldn't they figure it out? Like how did they?
He stole that. He borrowed that identity when he left the army. He pretty much just started.
What happened to his name in the army? Wouldn't they figure that out? Like how did he? Because he joined as himself. Like,
yeah, we'll find out.
Okay.
His father wasn't going to fall for Fred's tricks and demanded that he go and turn himself in to the military police. And being the honest man that he was, Fred nodded his head solemnly, marched out the door, and joined the Navy using the same fake name. In the Navy, Fred trained as a hospital corpsman, which is a job that primarily entails treating the rampant STDs of Marines inevitably contracted from loose women, which Marines are very good at.
Did you ever go see that doctor when you were in the army?
No, I was a virgin until I got out of the army. Just like every good soldier.
Were you really?
God and country first, Joel.
When did you join the army? When you were 17 or 18?
Well, I didn't lose my virginity until I was
Saturday?
37 last year. It was super cool, too. After completing his training, Fred was unhappy to learn that he wasn't getting the post that he had originally been hoping for. At this point, with nowhere left to go, Anthony Ignolia committed suicide. Fred was fine, though. Because he wasn't Navy Corpsman Anthony Ignolia. He was actually Dr. Robert Linton French.
How did he go from wanting to be a monk to just faking names?
You have no idea how many aliases he took over the course of his life. It was like if not a monthly thing, it was like a yearly thing for him.
Jesus. I guess it was easier back then.
As soon as he got to the point where one identity wasn't working out, he would just take another one. Oh, that last guy, he's dead. Now I'm Dr. Robert Linton French.
That's crazy.
Hey, Joel, do you ever plan on dying?
No.
No, you're supposed to. Yes.
I don't plan on dying, Coop, but I will eventually.
Okay, that's a good enough answer. Well, if you are eventually going to die, you need to look into our first sponsor for this show, which is PolicyGenius.
Okay.
So why would you get life insurance? Well, you get life insurance because eventually, as horrible as it is, You're going to kick the bucket at some point, and you're going to leave behind people that are going to need help continuing on without you there to support them.
There's people that rely on you.
In an unpredictable economy, life insurance can offer peace of mind that anyone who relies on you financially, whether that be a child, a parent, or even a business partner, will have a financial cushion if something happens to you. So why get covered now? You always got to plan ahead. Always got to plan ahead. Life insurance typically gets more expensive as you age, so it's smart to get a policy sooner rather than later because, I mean, dude, you go to like a 78 or 80-year-old person, and they're trying to get life insurance. It's like, oh, what? So you can have it for like 3 years and then kick the bucket? Get it while you're young.
Yep. That way the insurance companies can make their money off you.
Got to stay a step ahead of the game. So if you're worried about the price, that's where PolicyGenius steps in. By making it easy to compare your options from top companies, PolicyGenius can help you make sure you're not paying a cent more than you have to for the coverage that you need. Do you already have coverage through work? Chances are it's not enough. Having life insurance through your job may not be enough because most people end up needing more than 10 times the amount of coverage that is generally provided by employers. So this is how it works. PolicyGenius is an insurance comparison website that makes it easy to compare quotes from top companies like AIG and Prudential in one place to find your lowest price. You could save 50% or more on life insurance by comparing quotes with PolicyGenius. Just click the link in the description or head to policygenius.com/icono, that's ICONO,
Icono,
to get a personalized quote in minutes and find the right policy for your needs.
Icono.
And again, policygenius.com/icono. The licensed agents at PolicyGenius work for you, not the insurance companies. They're on hand through the entire process to help you understand your options so you can make decisions with confidence.
So those fucking shady insurance companies don't fuck you over.
Yeah, and also they're not making like commission from the insurance companies for selling policies from specific companies, so they're just going to work to find you the best policy. Right. And insurance is insanely confusing. It's insanely confusing. Yeah. So having somebody who actually understands the process from start to finish is a lifesaver. It's like having your own personal Sherpa.
It's like having your own Terminator.
Your own Sherpa leading you to the top of the Mount Everest of insurance policies.
That's pretty cool.
PolicyGenius doesn't add on extra fees. Your personal info is private because PolicyGenius doesn't sell your details to third parties. PolicyGenius has thousands of 5-star reviews across Google and Trustpilot. PolicyGenius has options that offer coverage in as little as a week and avoid unnecessary medical exams. So you don't got to get the finger in the old hoo-hoo just to get an insurance policy.
Unless that's what you want.
You can always find somebody that's willing to do that for you.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Which,
by the way, that is the other company that I'm sponsoring, Coop's Butthole Fingering. Probably shouldn't say that in the middle of an ad. Anyway, head to policygenius.com/icono to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you can save. So our next sponsor is actually a brand new sponsor, and this is one that I'm pretty excited about considering my past struggles with smoking cigarettes.
Okay.
So you know that, anybody who watches the show knows that I have a little bit of a liking for nicotine.
Yeah. Especially
in smoke or vaped form. And a big part of the process of quitting cigarettes is it's not just the physical addiction to the nicotine, it's the ritual of it.
That's my favorite part of it.
Raising something up to your mouth and inhaling and
like a dip.
Blowing smoke out.
No.
And we're in the middle of an ad read, Joel.
I'm sorry.
Keep it locked in. We're almost there. But that is a big part of quitting cigarettes, and it's the mental game that you have to beat.
Right, for sure.
So that's where Fume comes in. What makes Fume unique is Fume is a natural inhaler designed for a better, safer, and natural way to quit cigarettes. It's a no smoke, no vape, and no nicotine replacement for the hand-to-mouth habit of smoking, which, like I said, is one of the hardest parts to get over. The nicotine's going to be out of your system within a matter of days. The mental addiction where you just
need to
you
go outside
like
and smoke that cigarette.
you like the process, you like the ritual. This is what's going to help you get through that.
Ooh, I like this. This is awesome.
Me too. And not only that, they look awesome.
They're cool looking?
Yeah. Fume handcrafts wooden inhalers and uses cores infused with plant oils.
They're made of wood?
They're made out of wood.
That's sick.
Carved wood. They look sick.
We got to get some.
They're infused with plant oils studied to curb cravings. They have flavors like peppermint and the one that I want to try the most, which is called Conquer. I like that one.
Yeah. Conquer your habits.
With minty notes to simulate menthol cigarettes and other flavors like cozy chai, lemonberry bliss, which gives you a bit of a sweeter experience.
I love menthol cigarettes, so that's the one I want.
And all of their flavors are 100% natural. No harmful chemicals, no artificial flavors, and absolutely no nicotine. That's giving
When
you...
do we get our fucking care package in the mail?
I think it should be coming soon.
Fuck yeah.
I mean, if not, I'll just buy one myself.
Yeah, I want the mint. I want the minty one.
Quitting is tough, but Fume really can help. They've got thousands of 5-star reviews from smokers who've tried everything else, and this worked. Whether you're a smoker or an ex-smoker who still struggles with cravings, Fume is the perfect tool for you. Head to breathefume.com/icono and use the promo code ICONO, ICONO, to save 10% off your entire order.
Nice.
That's 10% off your entire order when you head to breathefume.com/icono and use the promo code ICONO. So that's BREATHEFUM. Fume is spelled FUM.com/icono.
Copy.
Now back to the show. Under the alias of Dr. French, Fred decided it was time to go back to the monastery life. Again. He had burned all of his bridges with the Trappists, so he went to a Benedictine monastery in Arkansas, claiming that he wished to convert to Catholicism. The Benedictine monks were happy to have a religion-oriented psychologist among their ranks, so they took him in. And his ruse lasted only a matter of weeks before he fucked it up. Dr. French was at the monastery for less than a month before he was called into the abbot's office for questioning.
Is he just fucking it up because he's got a bad attitude, or what? He wasn't like a drug addict or a drinker? Or,
it seems like
what's the shit behind it?
He fucks up the most whenever he's at these monasteries. When he's doing stuff outside of the monasteries, it seems like he gets away with it until he gets bored. But when he's at these monasteries, he just cannot stop fucking fighting with his bosses. So Dr. French was at the monastery for less than a month before he was called into the abbot's office for questioning. The abbot accused him of forging his documents and alleged that Fred was not, in fact, a real doctor. Although I have no evidence for this, I like to think that the exchange went something like this.
Love this.
Dr. French, we noticed that the medical degree you gave us is actually a Waffle House menu. No, it's not. Just read it. Okay, it says here, hash browns, smothered, covered. Oh, no, that's the wrong side. Just flip it over. Okay, this side just says Yale medical degree. Yeah, see, I'm a doctor. It's written in crayon. Holy shit! Look, it's the Virgin Mary. And then he runs away.
What's that over there, huh? Runs.
Worried about being caught and kicked out of yet another monastery, Fred's next destination was God's blind spot, Chicago, Illinois. Being the type of city that it is, the monks in Chicago had no use for some highbrow psychologist. And although I have no evidence for this, I like to think the exchange went something like this. I can't do a Chicago accent. I'm not an impressionist. I'm just going to wing it, though. Hey, Paulie, look at Mr. College Degree over here with his fancy shirt and fancy shoes and his fancy ability to read. You think you're better than me just because you don't have a fucking ankle bracelet? Get the fuck out of here. So they kicked him out.
That was pretty good, Coop.
I think that might be a little bit more like Bostonian or New Yorker or something like that. Yeah, they're all trash.
Eastern accent.
Still using the alias of Dr. French, Fred moved on to a monastery in Milwaukee, and much like Chicago, the monks in Milwaukee had no need for someone without a drinking problem and multiple restraining orders. But they did need a cook, seeing as fire has yet to be mastered in Wisconsin, still to this day.
Too many cooks.
Falling back on his go-to maneuver, Fred lied and claimed he wasn't just a doctor of psychology, he was also a chef. It wasn't long before he got into yet another argument with his superiors, this time over the proper amount of beer and cheese to include in the pancakes. Fred was promptly ejected from the monastery, becoming the first person to ever fuck up so bad they actually got kicked out of Milwaukee, which takes a lot of work. So having been blackballed by the monks once again, Fred knew it was time for him to set his sights higher. He was a doctor of psychology, after all.
Yeah, the fuck?
This guy is absolutely fucking insane. He just goes from one situation to the next, like, without missing a beat.
But he's not succeeding.
When he goes to the monasteries is when he fucks up. When he's outside of the monasteries, he does pretty goddamn good.
Okay.
His skills would be put to better use, shaping the minds of the next generation of upstanding American citizens. And with that in mind, he lied his way into becoming the dean of the School of Philosophy in Gannon College in Erie, Pennsylvania. What? Right?
The dean.
He lied his way into becoming the dean of the School of Philosophy at a college.
How do you do that?
How the fuck do you do that? I don't understand how he pulled any of this shit off. It doesn't make any fucking sense. And that's not even the craziest thing that he ever fucking did.
What's the dean is like the principal, basically.
So
right?
he wasn't the dean of the entire college. He was the dean of the School of Philosophy, which was like a section of the college. But he was still the dean of the School of Philosophy.
That's fucking crazy.
Using fake credentials, claiming that he was a doctor of psychology. Fred's time as a professor in Pennsylvania was spent teaching various forms of psychology and obviously dodging batteries chucked at him by drunken locals, considering it was Pennsylvania.
How long was he there?
He was there for the timelines are hard to really determine because a lot of this comes from his biography. And there's documented.
Did he write his own biography too?
No. There was somebody that actually wrote his biography, and there's documented evidence of him being at all of these different places, but the time that he spent there, just nobody seemed to really care to write any of it down.
Okay.
So the timeline is a little shaky.
But it was long enough where he was like fully
he was
a year at least.
Yeah, he was working as the dean of the School of Philosophy for long enough that like he was teaching students. So it must have been...
With no education.
It must have been months, if not a year. At the least.
That's fucking awesome. I wonder what he was teaching him. Quote unquote teaching.
I can only imagine. You know, honestly, that would be a really good teacher to have. Because if he's able to pull this shit off with zero he's a high school dropout. He ran away from home when he was 16. Like, that was the highest level of education that he ever achieved. And he's still pulling this shit off. This guy's a genius.
Yeah, he's got to be...
manipulative, but he's a genius.
He's got something. He's got something going on.
His fake medical degree was finally being put to good use, and he even published a well-received booklet titled, and you're going to love this, How to Bring Up Your Child. Right? It's fucking ridiculous.
And he doesn't have kids.
He doesn't have any formal education.
What the fuck? And it was well received.
It was well received. This guy is a fucking genius. He is a mind-blowing next level genius. Like, he's on the level of Frank Abagnale, the guy from Catch Me If You Can.
I don't know him.
But I think to an even higher degree.
The fuck?
The so-called Dr. French likely would have spent many years teaching at the college were it not for an unfortunate incident involving forged checks. And by an unfortunate incident, I mean he was unfortunately caught forging checks.
Jesus.
He wasn't the most upstanding citizen, as you can tell.
Yeah.
Now, at this time, unbeknownst to Fred, naval authorities had caught... This is so dumb. Unbeknownst to Fred, naval authorities had caught on to his fake suicide ploy. Remember, he faked his suicide when he was getting out of the Navy.
Yeah.
The ruse was revealed when the doctor performing the autopsy realized it was not, in fact, the corpse of Anthony Agnolia. It was simply a dead cat in a wig with a sign around its neck that read, "I'm not a dead cat, I'm Anthony Agnolia." Fred Demara really was a master manipulator. So this is where he has his first run-in with the law.
Uh-oh.
The FBI caught up with Fred while he was working as an instructor at St. Martin's College in Washington State, still using the Dr. French alias. So he went from one college to another, and he became an instructor at another college.
In the same field?
Yeah, still. So
now he's a mathematician?
No, Dr. French is a psychologist. He made sure to maintain the character of his aliases, and I think that's one of the reasons that it worked so well. But he was also he was like a kid playing pretend, where he would make up a character, be like, okay, I'm this character now. Okay, no, now I'm this character. But he would stick with the character.
Right.
Fred was arrested for desertion and sentenced to 18 months at the Naval Disciplinary Barracks in San Pedro, California. When Fred was finally released, he was a changed man.
Yeah, right.
No, I mean that literally, because now he was biologist Dr. Cecil Haman. As soon as he got out of prison, the very first thing that he did was create a new alias, another doctor. But this time he was a celebrated biologist.
Why is he fucking obsessed with this stuff? Why is he obsessed with making characters? Why did
Probably because he's a little crazy. I would imagine it's because he's a little crazy. Couldn't
he just use his own name and forge the same documents? He just likes making up characters?
Well, I think he's got to have like
He knows he's going to get caught eventually, so he doesn't want to use his real name.
He has to have the tabula rasa. He's got to have the clean slate to go back to.
Yeah.
After a brief stint studying law at Northeastern University, Fred once again felt his love of spirituality calling to him. The Trappists definitely weren't going to take him back, and the Benedictines were a bunch of Benedict heads, so Fred settled for studying theology at the Brothers of Christian Instruction in Maine.
Was he like, when your opinion of his personality, do you think he was like fucking obsessed with doing this? Where like he got out of jail and was like, okay, no more. But it's like a drug for him to he was in that character in front of people.
For sure he was for sure he was never like, no more, I'm never doing this again. This is a habit that I need to break. That was never anything that crossed his mind. There's one specific reason that he stopped doing it that we'll get to at the end of the episode. But he was he was a very charismatic and charming person, because the people that he would develop close relationships with were very loyal to him.
And when he was these characters and these teachers, was he doing his job well?
Yeah, the only thing that he keeps fucking up is every time he goes back to these goddamn monasteries. And for some reason, that's like the one job that he continually goes back to. And every time he goes back, he fucks up. Every single time.
What's his obsession with the religion?
I absolutely could not figure out why that was the one single. So he liked being a doctor and he liked being a monk. The very first thing that he tried to be was a monk, and he blew it because he didn't have very much respect for authority.
Yeah,
but there was definitely a fascination with being a monk, with theology.
I get the doctor thing, because you get power, you're in charge, you get to tell people what to do, you're like respected. A monk, isn't that like boring as fuck or something?
Right?
What is that? And you don't make any money being a fucking monk?
I know I
don't get it.
It does not make any sense to me. Like, that was his passion. And he did all this other stuff just to kind of kill time in between the next time that he was going to impersonate somebody else and try to be a fucking monk again. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
it does not make any sense to me.
It's fucking weird.
So since the Trappists and the Benedictines wanted nothing to do for him, Fred settled for studying theology at the Brothers of Christian Instruction in Maine. Remember Brothers of Christian Instruction. It comes into the story
Brothers
later.
of Christian Instruction, copy.
And it was there that he met a man who would change his life and give him his next identity. While at the Brothers of Christian Instruction, Fred became friends with a Canadian surgeon named Joseph C. Sear.
Okay.
Fred told him that he, too, was a practitioner of medicine, because he's a doctor, obviously.
Yeah.
Which was wonderful news for the surgeon. Sear was certified as a surgeon in Canada, but the damn bureaucrats in the States wouldn't let him get his American medical license. So Fred graciously offered to help him get his U.S. medical license, and all he would need was all of Sear's credentials.
Holy shit.
Fred immediately took the paperwork and left to start his new life as a surgeon in Canada who was named Joseph C. Sear.
Fuck. That's ballsy, dude.
It's insanely ballsy, and it's also insane.
Yeah.
It's a combination of an absolute lack of conscience while still trying to be a good person.
I mean, he's being a lying piece of shit to that guy.
But he never actually...
But I respect what he's doing. For some reason...
The crazy thing is he never actually hurt anybody. Like, it seems like he was always really careful not to hurt anyone or do anything that was actually going to...
He didn't take any money from that guy's bank account once he got his information?
No, the worst thing that he did was forging checks.
Yeah.
Everything else was, he was playing make-believe.
But when you're forging a check, that's taking someone's money, right?
I mean, the government's money. Do you consider them a person?
I wonder what the checks were like $20 for, like, he just wanted a tall can. Maybe a $3 check, and he got caught for that.
Signed, Harry S. Truman. Yeah, they're never going to catch on to me. So this is the part where I think it gets... No, I know it gets really fucking crazy. This is the part of the story that convinced me to turn this into an episode.
Okay.
Soon after adopting his new identity, Fred enlisted as a surgeon for the Canadian Navy on the destroyer HMCS Cayuga. He didn't see any harm in it, seeing as World War II had ended 5 years previously, so the likelihood of him actually having to treat anyone was practically non-existent. Just so you know, the year was 1951, and any of the history buffs in the audience, you're going to know exactly where this is going. In spring of 1951, Canada sent 8,500 troops to support UN and American forces fighting in the Korean War. Mm-hmm. Among the ships that set sail for the 38th parallel was none other than the HMCS Cayuga, which had one lone surgeon, good old Joseph C. Sear, a.k.a. Fred Demara.
Holy shit.
Now, do you recall...
A great surgeon, an excellent surgeon, a certified surgeon, one of the best.
Do you recall any point in the story where he had training as a surgeon?
No, just the
he had
medical...
he had some training as a corpsman, which would be...
What's a corpsman exactly? That's
roughly like an EMT.
Yeah. So you know how to give CPR, and you can you know how to put someone on a gurney.
And you can give someone pills to treat syphilis.
Yeah. You can look.
Okay, I don't actually mean that. Corpsmen are actually really fucking awesome. They are really fucking awesome. But
okay.
I mean, to make a good story, we gotta make some jokes. We gotta have a little bit of creative freedom.
They're not surgeons.
They're not surgeons. They don't have surgical training. They're going to be patching up wounds to get somebody to a surgeon.
Right.
And then the surgeon is the one that's going to take over from there to treat any major injuries.
Oh, fuck. I already know where this is going.
It gets bad. While aboard the Cayuga en route to Korea, Fred was luckily only faced with treating minor injuries, and being Canadian, the injuries were mostly hurt feelings from improperly worded apologies and easily treated with a friendly pat on the back. The true test of his skills came when they finally arrived in Korea. This was a real war zone with real bullets and real explosions and real combat injuries. And Fred was the only surgeon aboard this ship.
How many people are on the ship?
It's a destroyer, so I mean, there's got to be
1,000 or something?
a few hundred to maybe 1,000. I'd say
He's getting
rough
nervous.
estimate.
He's getting nervous at this point. He's got to be.
I hope he is, because if he's not, he is a full-blown fucking sociopath.
Yeah, how's the boat trip there? He's like, oh, fuck. Oh,
He's like, oh, wait,
the
shit.
boat's leaving?
Shit.
Why didn't he fucking get off the boat when it was leaving? He could have. That's a good time to change your identity again.
No, because Anthony Agnolia, that's the dirtbag that goes AWOL. Joseph C. Sear does not give up on his country. He's a method actor.
Yeah. He's dedicated to his craft.
Very dedicated. I have no idea what was going through this guy's mind. It honestly doesn't make any sense to me.
So he's going into a war pretending to be a surgeon right now.
He must be insanely confident in his ability to bullshit people. He's like, oh no, you're not dead. You're fine.
You're yeah.
They're like, oh yeah, okay, I'm good.
He just had a believable face.
Yeah, he was
Jolly round face that just everyone believed in.
He was very, very convincing. And also at this point, he continually gained more and more weight over the course of his life. So by the time he was Joseph C. Sear, he was already starting to be a big, portly guy. And that just kind of got worse and worse. So he didn't exactly have a military frame. Yeah, I think he was a little above tall. I think he was like 6'3", 6'4".
Okay.
And fairly hefty.
It's fucking awesome.
The trial by fire began with the soldier who had been shot in the chest. This is once they're anchored off the coast of Korea.
Was he doing accents? He had to.
I hope so. There's got to be something that he's doing that's convincing these people. Yeah. It's like, oh, I'm a surgeon, eh? Sorry. Even for a skilled surgeon, this would be a difficult procedure to perform, and Fred was far from skilled. Regardless, he ordered that the patient be taken to the operating room and prepped for surgery.
Holy shit.
As his assistants carried out the task, Fred surreptitiously picked up a surgical textbook and slipped away into a separate room.
He's going to do it.
He's cramming for a test, and it is the ultimate test.
The test is a surgery.
Yeah. Fred had finally lied his way into a situation that was life or death. The only way out was to successfully perform a major chest surgery, and he had less than 30 minutes to learn how.
Holy shit.
Should he fail, not only would he be caught and sent to prison, the soldier would die.
Yeah.
Somebody's life was literally balanced on this guy's ability to figure out, like, okay, how do I pretend really, really hard to be a surgeon?
I thought you were going to say he told them to prep the surgery, and then he fucking got on a little rowboat and got the fuck out of there.
No, he began reading the textbook as quickly as he could, and a short time later, one of the assistants entered the room. The patient was prepped and ready for the surgeon.
Holy shit.
With his scalpel in hand, Fred began the procedure.
He started cutting into his leg instead of his chest.
He amputated his foot and was like, sorry, he's dead. Any student can tell you that a multi-hour cram session before a math test is stressful. Fred Demara had studied for roughly 20 minutes before cutting open a man's chest and removing a bullet lodged near his heart.
And? Killed him.
Needless to say, the patient died. Back at home, surrounded by family, many years after the war was over, because Fred fucking pulled it off.
Oh, shit.
The surgery was successful. He saved the guy's life. He performed a major chest surgery with roughly 20 minutes of preparation beforehand, having never performed a surgery before in his life.
A surgeon's like 7 years, right? Or 9 years or something?
Oh, God, it's probably like 8. I think it's like 8 years or more.
And then you have to be a part of like a bunch of surgeries before you even do your first one yourself.
Yeah.
And all that shit.
He scanned through a fucking textbook for 20 minutes and then performed a chest surgery, a complicated chest surgery. He was
near the
taking
heart.
a bullet that was lodged near the heart. Even a skilled surgeon could have fucked that up.
Dude, I played Operation and that shit's hard.
So imagine the equivalent of what he did is he was playing Operation trying to go for the funny bone, and he had Parkinson's.
Yeah.
And he fucking pulled it off.
Yeah.
Although the first surgery was a success,
He's a fucking hero.
he was still the only surgeon on the ship. This was the beginning,
Oh, no.
and they were still in a war zone. Fred was forced to perform the same miraculous feat again. Not once, not twice, but 15 more times. 15 more surgeries with no formal training.
Holy shit.
He didn't lose a single fucking patient.
They were all successful.
Out of the 16 people that he performed surgery on,
No fucking way.
all of them survived. Every last one of them survived.
He saved them all.
How
So
does that happen?
All this bullshit, all the lying, the fake checks, the pretending to be all this stuff, it paid off. He saved lives.
He was a genius. And what he credits it to is he says that he's a speed reader and he has a photographic memory. And honestly, I can't dispute that. Because he performed 16 successful surgeries
With no training. He
with
just read a
no
fucking
training,
book.
and all of them survived. And those were just the surgeries. There were other people that he was treating also, and it all worked out. He didn't lose any patients.
That's insane. That's a miracle.
Yeah. Back in Canada, the newspapers began reporting the story of a wounded soldier who had a bullet removed from his chest in a risky surgery performed by the brilliant Dr. Joseph C. Sear.
I was gonna say, please let him get caught now, and then they're like, but he did this. Like,
Well, this obviously came as a surprise to one woman in particular who lived in Canada, who was the mother of Dr. Joseph C. Sear. And she could swear that
my son's in America.
She could swear that her son was in New Brunswick performing surgeries. Which, by the way, New Brunswick is famously not a ship off the coast of Korea, just in case anybody's not familiar with geography. New Brunswick is nowhere near Korea.
Wait, did the real surgeon perform surgeries and fail?
He probably had a worse ratio than Fred Demara did.
Yeah.
So Mama Sear contacted the Canadian Navy just to make sure, and the jig was finally up for Fred Demara.
Oh no.
When the news that the onboard surgeon was not, in fact, Joseph C. Sear, the captain of the Cayuga refused to believe it. Obviously, considering that he had seen him save the lives of 16 wounded soldiers, he was performing surgery. If it looks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, if it can save a fucking soldier that has a bullet lodged in his chest, it's obviously a duck.
I don't give a fuck who he is. He's saving my soldiers' lives. Fuck it. Who gives a shit?
It's like the old saying goes, if it works, it's not stupid. He got it done. I have no idea how he pulled that off.
I just can't believe he went through with it. It seemed like he kind of, as soon as it got too hairy, he would split.
Yeah, imagine.
So it's just crazy he fucking committed to that and went for it and then succeeded.
Imagine lying your way into any job, and then you're expected to perform as a professional in that job.
That's like lying. It's like lying as that you're fucking Brett Favre playing football. You're the best quarterback in the world. You lie and say you're him, and then you have to play an actual game, and you're like, oh fuck!
And your first game is the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and then you win.
It's
insane.
Absolutely insane.
God bless him.
So the captain of the Cayuga refused to believe that his Dr. Joseph C. Sear was not actually a surgeon.
It's the other one that's fake.
This medical genius had saved the lives of 16 men. There's no way that he could be a high school dropout from Massachusetts. But after checking his credentials, they learned that it was true. And although I have no evidence for this, I like to think the exchange went something like this. Dr. Sear, I've been reviewing your paperwork and I've noticed some cause for concern. What seems to be the problem, sir? The medical license you gave me appears to be a page torn out of a Sears catalog. No, it's not. Look at it. Yeah, it's an ad for a sale on women's brasiers. No, flip it over. Read the other side. It says license to do surgery. Yeah, see, I'm a surgeon. You spelled surgery with a J. Oh, holy shit, is that the Canadian Prime Minister, Louis St. Laurent?
Where?
And Fred runs away. After Fred's deception was discovered, the Canadian government was forced to choose between admitting that they were fooled or sweeping it all under the rug and avoiding embarrassment. Fred's incredible luck once again saved the day, and he was quietly dismissed from the Canadian Navy without any punishment. Well, he had one punishment. One condition of his release
Did they
was...
jump him? Did they whip his ass?
No, the one condition of his release was he had to go back to Massachusetts.
They made him go back.
Yeah, poor bastard. No good deed goes unpunished.
But he saved lives.
But he lied.
To save
He's
lives.
a bad boy. I know. I think that it's good that
People
he got
get the Medal of Honor for shit like that.
Yeah, I think it was good that he got away without actually getting any real punishment.
That's insane, dude.
I mean, if you like Massachusetts. After his military career ended, Fred went right back to his old ways.
Military career.
Impersonating a ranking member of the Christian Brothers of Instruction that we were talking about earlier.
Okay.
And he used his position to found a college in Alfred, Maine. He went from impersonating a surgeon to joining the Christian Brothers of Instruction.
Is that a cult?
And, no, it's a...
It's monk shit again?
Yeah, it's more monk shit.
Jesus Christ.
But once he joined them, he founded a college. And not only did he found a college, he got the state to charter... Like, the college was chartered by the state. It was turned into an actual college.
Holy shit.
But Fred left the organization once again after being offended that they didn't make him rector or chancellor of the college. So he founded the college, and they didn't let him be like one of the bigwigs at the college. So he was like, oh, well, fuck you guys, I'm out of here. And he left. So interesting note, the college he founded was later moved to Canton, Ohio, and eventually became Walsh University, which is still around to this day. Some of the notable alumni of Walsh University or Walsh College include mixed martial artist Brian Rogers and the fucking CEO of FedEx.
Tom Hanks. Castaway.
Tom Hanks. Her name's Ramona Hood.
So even though he's fucking lying and making up shit, he's making the world a better place. He's saving lives. He's making colleges.
The only place that he fails is when he goes back to these monasteries. I mean, arguably the last time he was able to establish a college that is still around to this day. But every time that he really gets in trouble is when he goes back to these fucking monasteries. And he ends up going back to theology once again. Fred Demara eventually sold his life story. He eventually sold his story to Life magazine, which turned him into a minor celebrity overnight. His newfound fame made it nearly impossible for him to continue his favorite hobby of adopting fake identities, and prospective employers were understandably mistrusting. People started to recognize him, so when he would try to get new jobs, they'd be like, "Wait, you're that Fred guy, or are you? Or are you Fred? Or
who are you this time?
Are you Dr. French? Are you Anthony Agnolia? Are you Dr. Joseph Sear again?" His notoriety earned him some appearances on game shows, and his story was later turned into a film called The Great Impostor, where he was played by none other than Tony Curtis. Okay. Curtis later admitted during an interview that his favorite role out of his entire career was playing Fred Demara in The Great Impostor. And
Yeah,
Tony
that sounds
Curtis,
like
what is
you get to play a bunch of different people.
he was in Some Like It Hot. Like Tony Curtis was
Drop
in some,
It Like It's Hot.
some-
That's
yeah,
a
he was in
badass music video.
He was in Drop It Like It's Hot.
Snoop Dogg.
Huge actor, and his favorite role to play was Fred Demara in The Great Impostor.
That's a cool. It's a weird connection of pretending to be someone else.
He ended up actually, yeah, that's like inception of pretending to be somebody else. You're pretending to be somebody else who's pretending to be somebody else who's pretending to be somebody else, and
Who pretended to be a surgeon.
And at some point, a top tips over.
Yeah.
He also made connections with Steve McQueen. He became friends with Steve McQueen, and he actually gave Steve McQueen his last rites in 1980 before Steve McQueen died, because he was a chaplain. By the 1970s, Fred's star had faded, and he took a job as a chaplain at the Good Samaritan Hospital in Anaheim, California.
As himself.
As himself. This time it was as himself.
Okay.
He did try to adopt some other aliases in the intervening years, but everybody was like, wait a second. No, you're Fred Demara. You're Fred Demara. I fucking know you.
He was famous.
Yeah, he fucked himself over. Well, if his goal was to continue adopting all of these different aliases and impersonating all those different people, then he shouldn't have sold his story to Life magazine. He shouldn't have done the movie. At that point,
he was trying to self-medicate by doing that.
Yeah,
trying to fix his problem.
Well, he was also kind of running out of money because nobody wanted to hire him anymore.
Yeah, he had to take a deal.
Yeah, he had to. He fucking sold out, man.
He had to get off the heroin.
He sold out. He's like fucking Green Day.
Okay.
So he got a job as a chaplain at the Good Samaritan Hospital in Anaheim, California. But as I mentioned earlier, he was continually gaining weight over his entire life. Probably starting off by swindling that shopkeeper out of the chocolate when he was a kid. Due to his weight, he eventually developed diabetes, leading to him having both of his legs amputated. Which
what the fuck
sucks.
So he got super fat.
He got real big. If you look at pictures of him towards the end of his life, he's a big boy. Big boy.
That doesn't even make sense either. Like having that much motivation to do all this crazy shit. How do you get a weight problem?
Yeah, I mean, realistically,
Do you love food?
Realistically, it was probably a fat suit, and his legs were actually still there, and it was all just another con.
It was another gag. He faked his death.
His failing health forced him to stop working as a chaplain, but over the years he had developed a friendship with one of the owners of the hospital who allowed him to live in one of the rooms. And he lived in this hospital for the remainder of his life up until on June 7th, 1982, Fred Demara passed away at the age of 60 due to heart failure and complications related to his diabetes.
Fuck. He died right before I was born.
Or did he?
Or did he? He faked his death.
Dun, dun, dun. I think he's still out there.
He would be really old.
I think what happened
How
is
old was he when he died?
He was 60 years old. He actually, I mean, that's really not the oldest age to die at. I mean, I'm sure people have made it to at least like 63 or 64. I haven't looked into it, so I don't know.
I like him. I mean, he's an asshole.
I like him too.
He's kind of an asshole, but like...
I mean, he's dishonest, but he was never really a bad person.
Yeah, like the reasons that he was doing it, I mean, he was always helping people. In each fake identity he had, he was helping people.
Yeah.
Which is really fucking weird.
And he had a lifelong passion for theology and for the church. And that's what he ended up spending the remainder of his years doing. Was he became a chaplain. And what he would do for the hospital is he would come in and he would comfort dying people. He would give people their last rites. And he was dishonest, but he wasn't a bad guy. Like he just had,
Yeah, I mean,
he had some weird
right?
tastes.
Yeah.
He was doing the wrong thing for some of the right reasons.
Yeah.
And I mean, he saved 16 people's lives. He
That's
saved
insane.
the lives of 16 soldiers just by winging it from reading out of a textbook.
Yeah, that saves everything. Like if he didn't do that shit, I'd be like, this guy's a piece of shit.
And really, overall, he never.
He wasn't laundering money. He wasn't stealing from people. He never killed anyone.
Yeah,
he didn't like rob a bank or anything crazy.
Outside of the check fraud, he really never victimized anybody. And the check fraud would be more against the banks than anything else. And they've got insurance for things like that. I'm not saying it's right, but he wasn't committing direct crimes. He wasn't hurting anyone directly. And overall, he helped more people than he hurt.
Yeah, so you can't be mad at him.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he was definitely mentally ill. You don't do things like that without having some sort of mental issue, but he was real fucking good at it.
Mentally powerful.
No, I mean ill like the way the rappers say it. Like, dude, that's ill as fuck. I don't know. I haven't been hip to the lingo since like the late 80s, early 90s. Do they still say that?
Yeah. Well, I think
he was fat.
He wasn't mid.
PHAT.
Yeah.
And he was also actually fat, and that's why he got diabetes.
Fat as fuck. I wouldn't picture him as a giant fat guy, but
yeah, he's a big boy. If you look at pictures of him, he's got like a crew cut, and he has the body shape of a pear.
Aw, he's like Santa, but liar.
Yeah. He's like Santa, but he doesn't victimize children. Doesn't sneak into kids' houses and watch them while they sleep, the sick fuck. But that's the story of Fred Demara Jr.
Dude, that was awesome.
I absolutely love that story. I had never heard of this guy before, and as soon as I started getting details about his life, I had to know more about it. And the more that I learned about him, the more fascinating he became.
That's crazy. I'd never have had the balls, or I never even thought about like trying to pretend to be someone else to get something. But he wasn't even getting, well, I guess he was getting fatty paychecks for being a doctor and a surgeon, right?
I mean, he was making a living, but I don't think that was necessarily his drive for everything. I
that's
think
the most confusing part. What's the drive? Like, why the monks? That makes it, that's what throws it all out the window.
The whole thing from start to finish is so confusing, because whereas somebody like another really famous con man is Frank Abagnale. And he was played by Leonardo DiCaprio in Catch Me If You Can, opposite of Tom Hanks.
I never saw that one.
And Frank Abagnale was just trying to enrich himself. He was an actual con man. Fred Demara was something different, and I don't know exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Like I absolutely cannot figure this guy out.
I'm gonna go with I love him.
I love him too.
God bless him. What's his name? Freddie Two-Bone?
Fred Demara. Or Fernando Demara.
Fernando
Or no,
Demara.
Ferdinand Demara.
Ferdinand.
He went by Fred. If you look up Fred Demara Jr.,
Fred Demara Jr.
You're going to find information about
Okay.
him. And they also made a movie about him called The Great Impostor. There was also an episode of MASH that was based on him that was called, I think it was called Dear Dad Again or something like that. I don't know. I never watched MASH.
I hated that.
It was a little before my time.
It was boring.
I mean,
Well, as a kid.
Hawkeye was pretty funny, but yeah, as a kid, it's not funny. As an adult, I don't think it's funny either, but I didn't grow up in the 70s.
Yeah.
They had a different definition of comedy back then.
Yeah, it's called boring.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's it for this episode of the Iconoblast podcast. You can join us again next week, where I have an even deeper episode planned that has much more social commentary than I think any episode that we've done previously.
Okay.
There's a connection between this specific topic and I think literally everything that is going on in the United States right now. And it's not going to be a political episode, but it is going to be probably the most
Cultural?
Yeah, it's more of a cultural episode. It's social commentary more than anything. It's drawing comparisons between what's going on right now and some experiments that were carried out in the past, which have disturbing connections between the two of them. It does not bode well for the future.
You're not going to tell us the title or the topic?
I don't want to. I don't want to give it away because I know that there's some people out there frightening me. I'm looking at you.
Looking at you, motherfucker.
Yeah, looking at you, frightening me. that, if you give away the topic beforehand, then they're going to look into it themselves, and then it won't land quite as well once we do the episode. So for things like that, I prefer to...
Got to tease them a little. But
tease it a little bit, but don't give away exactly what's going to happen.
It's like a trailer from the 80s.
Yeah.
Where they actually don't tell you the whole story.
Yeah, not like the shit that they do nowadays, where they just show like all the best parts of the movie. Because that's all there is. It's just a bunch of... I was going to quote Shakespeare, but I don't remember any Shakespeare.
From forth the fatal...
From forth the fatal loins, between a blink and a tear, death blooms.
Death blooms.
William Shakespeare from King Lear. You can follow us on Instagram at iconoblastpodcast. You can follow me at Coop Newcomb. You can follow Joel at Joel R. Benner. And you can join us every Monday night at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time on the Drinkin' Bros History channel on YouTube, where Joel and I are in the live chat trying to stop everybody from giving away the goddamn plot points of the story. Once again, frightening me. Looking at you, bro.
The chat's
you've been doing good.
It's like a second show. A lot of people that are in the chat say they hang out in the chat, half listen to the show, and then like on the way to work the next day they listen to the show again because the chat's its own show. The
Monday night premieres aren't a show; they're a family gathering. Yeah. That's really what they've turned into. It's a place
like
for
a barbecue.
Yeah, it's a place for the Iconoblast family to all get together and catch up on things and make tasteless jokes and flirt with each other. Womb Raider, looking at you. But all in all, it's a really good time. It's a good way to get connected with everybody else in the community, and people will also... We have a lot of history buffs that jump in on the premieres every Monday night that have information about the episode that isn't in the episode. They have information about the topic that wasn't included in the episode.
Yeah, you can get some more information out of the chat sometimes.
Yeah, and if you have questions about anything in the episode, if you ask the question in the chat, there's going to be somebody there that can answer the question for you, which is, I think is really fucking cool.
Also, we weren't culturally insensitive at all in this. So, Ruben, I know you have a full glass of vodka or whatever you're drinking right now. So, come on, do it. Take a little drinky right now. Drink your entire drink.
Keep going. Make him chug the whole thing.
Yeah, drink it. Fuck me.
All right. We will see you all next week. And in the meantime, I am Matt Cooper.
Joel Benner.
And we're reminding you to never take anything at face value.
I faded to black on it.
We're fucking professionals.